Should you go back to college in your 30s or 40s?
It's a big question, and people ask it because college costs tens of thousands of dollars. It's a huge gamble, and not just because of money, it's because it also takes a bunch of time, hundreds of hours away from family and friends. And then there's the big question, is this going to pay off in the end? Am I going to be able to get a job in the field I want to go into?
So without further ado, let's take a look at some of the things you should be thinking about if you want to go back to college.
And number one on that list is, are you willing to adapt how you spend your time and your money? If you're not, we should say, like, if you have a ton of money that you're sitting on or you have a ton of free time, this is all kind of moot. Great, good, go do whatever you want. But if you're like most people, then you've got to decide whether you're willing to make some sacrifices and make some changes. It's one of those situations where to get to the next level, you've got to put in a little bit of extra effort and work to be able to do that. Some people think, I'm going to just borrow a bunch of money, go into some debt, and then I'll be able to make that money back in the next job. But if you haven't done research into the kind of job you're going into, and if you don't know what you're going to be doing afterwards and don't have a solid plan, that can backfire on you.
Another important consideration, do you actually have an end goal for getting a degree, or are you just doing it for fun? This is really important because in order to be successful in college, you need to know where you're going. You can't just be doing college because, it'd be neat to have a bachelor's degree on my resume. You need to have an idea of what kind of career field you want to go into and determine, do they require a degree, and what type of degree do they require? If you don't have an end goal, you're setting yourself up for failure. And that brings me into my next point, which is you have a promotion in your current career field that requires you to get your degree. So let's say you work on the floor at a retail store. This is actually a fairly common job to have. And let's say that you want to get promoted to manager. If you look at the job description for manager, it's probably going to require a bachelor's degree. So this is a perfect scenario where the next step in your career requires you to have a bachelor's degree.
Yeah, similarly, if you are like a para-teacher or a teacher assistant aide or something like that at a small school and you want to become a full-time teacher, it's going to take a bachelor's degree and a teaching license. But it's not just about getting promotions. If you need to go into a new field or you're wanting to switch careers, which almost everybody does at some point, just statistically, then you might need to have a bachelor's degree to be able to do something like that. You might be in a situation where you are working in customer support, or you're working in, kind of a tech industry that didn't need a bachelor's degree to get into the ground floor, but you're kind of not really getting the promotion opportunities you want, and now you want to go work in communications or marketing or something like that. And to get into that, you're going to need a bachelor's degree. So when you're switching careers or you're jumping career ladders, does it require a bachelor's degree? If so, it might be a point in favor.
So we've already talked about whether you need a promotion for your current job or if you're thinking about switching career fields. But what if you're re-entering the workforce? Let's say you've been a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad, and the kids are going off to college and you're looking to re-enter the workforce, or you were in the military and you're now going to be re-entering the civilian workforce, and maybe you're thinking about using the GI Bill. These are situations where you're already undergoing a lot of change. So this is a perfect opportunity to be thinking about, do I need to go back to college in order to be more marketable?
And the final question is, do you have a lot of life experience that a college may be willing to give you life experience credit for? This is a kind of a little known secret, but a ton of colleges out there do accept that kind of thing, and it can take a 4 or 6 year bachelor's degree and turn it into a 2 or 3 year bachelor's degree if you've got a lot of life experience that they'd be willing to give credit for. In addition, if you are somebody who's already a natural learner and somebody who enjoys learning, then that's another point in favor of you going back to college.
So here's what I want you to do, guys. If you determine that college is right for you, if you answered yes to some of those questions that we were asking before, go find 5 positions that you could see yourself in one day, and go look through the job requirements. You're going to see a lot of things that they list as minimum desired qualifications. You're also going to see some preferred qualifications. Go through and highlight the ones that specifically require a bachelor's degree or can be obtained through completion of a bachelor's degree, because those are going to be the requirements that you're going to be basing your decision on. So examples of this would be if it just comes out and says you have to have a bachelor's degree to hold this position. That's actually quite common. So that would be a dead giveaway of an example that you would need that for. Now, let's also say that it says must have had 3 to 5 years research experience in this type of field. That's another example of something that they might require a bachelor's degree or a master's degree for you to be able to go into that position. So those are great examples of things that you would want to highlight in those job descriptions to see if a bachelor's degree would be required.
So basically, guys, college is a very difficult decision for a lot of people. You already know that. You're trying to make this decision, but there are some really good reasons why you should consider it. It can lead to increased income, it can increase your job satisfaction, and it can get you new life experiences that you wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. If the challenges are things that you're willing to overcome, and if the potential benefits are worth it to you, then you really need to consider this. You need to do the research that Caleb was just talking about, because when it comes to this kind of stuff, 90% of success is going to be pre-planning and preparation. If you do not plan beforehand and you just call up the college and say, hey, let's start taking some classes, let's go, you're going to find yourself in the situation that a lot of people end up in that can be really, really dangerous, where maybe you take some classes, you realize you've gone in the wrong direction, you've got to retake more classes. That just added $10,000 worth of debt to what you're already piling up. Or maybe you get to a situation where you took classes that you weren't prepared for, and so now you fail those, and now you've got debt and no degree, and that can be really, really tough. And so that's something that we hope that this video has kind of helped you to start thinking through, but it's definitely a process, and we want to be here to help.
If you want to take the next step, go ahead and check out our video about how to build your support community, which is an incredibly important step in successfully completing college.
And if you want the full process for graduating college and getting that job or going to grad school that we promote and talk about here, then check out in the description down below a link to the Graduate U 7-step checklist. It's going to teach you everything that you need to know, and it's going to make sure that you get graduated.